Mm. Mm. Yes, you both have. Yes, you both have. Yeah. Mm, yes. Hello again, and good evening local time from Metro Manila, the Philippines, Southeastern Asia. On July the 3rd, 2020, France received a new prime minister because the incumbent, Edouard Philippe, who had been in office for 3 years since May 2017, the start of the current president, Emmanuel Macron's 5 year term, resigned in order to assume his new political office as the mayor of Le Havre, because on the last Sunday um, of June, June the 28th, the long delayed second round of French municipal elections finally took place. It had been delayed because of the coronavirus pandemic. And since in France, um, if a person has been elected mayor, he or she probably cannot at the same time serve actively as a cabinet minister. Either he or she would have to then take a leave of absence from being mayor, or then resign as mayor and instead keep serving as a cabinet minister, including prime minister. Then Edouard Philippe decided to resign as prime minister and become the mayor of Le Havre. He was replaced by Jean Castex, another center-right politician who, just like his predecessor, used to belong to the Union pour un mouvement populaire, Union for a Popular Movement, which then was renamed Les Républicains, the Republicans, which is France's main center-right political party. The sorry, the president's party, La République en Marche, the Republic en March, is considered a centrist and liberal party. Um, the new Prime Minister, Jean Castex, has served in several political offices already, so he's far from being an inexperienced person, despite his rather long political experience dating back to the early years of this century, so almost 2 decades. He has been criticized by certain left-wing French politicians for being a technocrat. So he was born in June 1965, which makes him over 5 years older than his predecessor, Edouard Philippe, who was born in November 1970. His previous offices include, for example, the mayorship of Prades, a small city in southern France, or town. He had served in that position since 2008. He was born at Vic-Fezensac in southwestern France. His grandfather was Senator Marc Castex, and another family member was the distinguished academic Professor Pierre-Georges Castex. He attended Sciences Po, or the Paris Institute of Political Studies, graduating in 1986, before pursuing further studies at the École nationale d'administration, or National School of Administration, before joining the Court of Audit, becoming one of France's senior civil servants. Prades is located in Pyrénées-Orientales, or Eastern Pyrenees, Pyrenees being the mountain range that separates France from Spain, or which France actually shares with Spain and the tiny Principality of Andorra. And from 2010 to 2011, Mr. or now Prime Minister Castex served under Health Minister Xavier Bertrand as Chief of Staff in the government of then Prime Minister François Fillon, succeeding Raymond Souby as Secretary General under President Nicolas Sarkozy. Between 2011 and 2012, he was replaced by none other than the current French President Emmanuel Macron. On the local level, he was a regional councillor of Languedoc-Roussillon from 2010 to 2015, and has served as department councillor of Pyrénées-Orientales since 2015. In September 2017, he was appointed interdepartmental delegate to the 2024 Summer Olympics and Paralympics, which are to be held in Paris in commemoration of the centenary or 100th anniversary of the 1924 Paris Summer Olympics. Also, the first Winter Olympics were held in France, I think in Chamonix that year. He was also appointed as president of the National Sports Agency. On April the 2nd, 2020, he was appointed coordinator of the phasing out of the lockdown or confinement implemented in France during the COVID-19 pandemic. And he was regarded as being socially conservative in the Republicans. He has a southwestern French accent and is married to Sandra Ribelegu or Ribeleg. They have 4 daughters. He speaks, in addition to his native French, Catalan fluently. He is aware of Catalan and other regional sensibilities. Interestingly, in 2017, he said that he hoped that, or he said that the Catalans have a right to be defended against the violences or violent acts committed against them, or the violations of their rights committed against them by the national Spanish government. But he stopped short of endorsing Catalonia's independence. As we know, in November 2017, Catalonia held a controversial independence referendum, which the national Spanish government had already denounced as illegal. Under 50% of the people voted there, and even though close to 80% actually, or about 80% approved of the independence proposition, the result was declared invalid by the national Spanish government. In the Castex government, which is the 42nd government of the French Fifth Republic, dating back to 1959, and is the 3rd cabinet formed under President Emmanuel Macron's 5-year term. The following parties are represented: La République en Marche, or the Republic on the March, Le Mouvement Démocrate, the Democratic Movement, the Mouvement Radical, the Radical Movement, and Agir, to act. It is a party of the constructive right. The Minister of Europe and Foreign Affairs is Jean-Yves Le Drian, which is who is actually from TDP, which is, I think, a social democratic party even. Ms. Barbara Pompili is the Minister of Ecological Transition. Jean-Michel Blanquet is the Minister of National Education, Youth and Sports. Bruno Le Maire is the Minister of the Economy, Finance and Recovery. Ms. Florence Parly is the Minister of Armed Forces. Interestingly, she belongs to the miscellaneous left, divers gauche. Gérald Darmanin is the Minister of the Interior. Controversially, he has been accused of raping a woman. Ms. Elisabeth Borne is the Minister of Labour, Employment and Integration. Ms. Jacqueline Gouraud is the Minister of Territorial Cohesion and Relations with Local Authorities. Éric Dupond-Moretti is the Keeper of the Seals and Minister of Justice. Ms. Roselyne Bachelot is the Minister of Culture. Sébastien Lecornu is the Minister of Overseas. Olivier Véran is the Minister of Solidarity and Health. Ms. Annick Girardin is the Minister of the Sea. Frédéric Vidal is the Minister of Higher Education, Research and Innovation. Juliane de Normandie is the Minister of Agriculture and Food. And Ms. Amélie de Montchalin is the Minister of Transformation, and Public Service. Then there are deputy ministers. Marc Fesneau, Minister for Relations with Parliament and Citizen Participation. Ms. Elisabeth Moreno, Minister for Gender Equality, Diversity and Equal Opportunities. Franck Ristet, Minister for Foreign Trade and Attractiveness. Ms. Emmanuelle Vargon, Minister for Housing. Jean-Baptiste Djebari is the Minister for Transport. Olivier Dussault is the Minister for Public Accounts. Ms. Agnès Pannier-Runacher is the Minister for Industry. Alain Griset is the Minister for Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises. Ms. Roxana Maracineanu, or Maracineanu, either she is of Romanian origin or her husband, possible husband, is. She's the Minister for Sports. Ms. Geneviève Darieux-Sec is the Minister for Memory and Veterans Affairs. Ms. Marlène Schiappa is the Minister for Citizenship. Ms. Brigitte Klanker or Klinkert is the Minister for Integration. Ms. Nadia E is the Minister for the City, and Ms. Brigitte Bourguignon is the Minister for Autonomy. And in addition, Gabriel Attal is the government spokesman and Secretary of State.